Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 20th of January. I hope your day is off to a great start. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller with you here on the Weather Desk, where each and every weekday morning around 9 o'clock, we give you a half an hour filled with today's top weather headlines, and we've got a big show for you this morning. Glad you're with us here on 13 News Now Plus, and if you're following us on YouTube, love that so much. Thank you so much for spending a little time. So what are the top weather headlines today? Well, there's been more snow for parts of the U.S., and we're going to break down several regions dealing with wintry weather, from icy conditions in North Carolina to heavy snows coming off the Great Lakes and a massive pileup. Like 110 vehicles in a crash up in western Michigan. We'll show you that. We're going to talk some more about other parts of the country that have a tremendous amount of snow on the ground. We're going to talk about some storm damage to the Lick Observatory on Mount Hamilton out in California. Big storm in December did a number, and we've got some video to share with you on the Lick Observatory. Well, and then we're going to go back in weather history. We love this series as we celebrate 250 years of the United States. My colleague Evan Stewart is taking a look back at some big moments in weather that have impacted the course of the United States and our history. So we're going to take you back to a storm that began 163 years ago today. Think about that. Civil War time, it literally halted a march. It was called the Mud March. You'll hear more about that from Evan in just a few minutes. All right, then we're going to talk about this big winter storm. Hampton roads, get ready for a potentially major winter storm Saturday into Sunday. We're going to talk about its impacts here in our local viewing area. But it's not just Hampton roads. It's parts of the Mid-Atlantic, farther to the north as well. So a lot to go over here as we explore the weather, looking ahead to the weekend. And this next big storm could be the biggest one we've seen in quite a while, at least for parts of the area. All right, so let's start off with a look at what's going on across the country. And right now, some snow flying across Big Sky State, Montana there. You can see the northern parts of Montana getting that snow, a little bit across the Dakotas, North and South Dakota, a little bit of light snow showing up around some of the Great Lakes. Most of the country is precipitation free, and obviously with this setup, we're not looking at any severe weather, just a few light rain showers off the Texas coast there. Nothing major going on. So I told you we would take a look at the snow, and we want to get into this because there is a lot of snow that's fallen over portions of the Rockies. You get up into the northwest part of Wyoming, up into the Rockies in that part of the region, and the Tetons, the Grand Tetons, some pretty amazing amounts of snow in that higher elevation. The Bitterroot's also seeing some heavy snow. It extends the northern Rockies there up through Montana. I think about places like Whitefish and Kalispell, so beautiful up in western Montana. How about the Cascades in Washington? Washington State, tremendously heavy snowfalls there with all the moisture they had earlier in the season. The snow really piled up in those higher elevations. And the Sierra Nevadas also picking up some pretty heavy snow there. Back over across the northeast U.S., some more recent snow here. Back across the northeast, you can see parts of northern Vermont, New Hampshire, into Maine, upstate New York, also Michigan, both the northern sections of the lower peninsula and then the UP, the upper peninsula of Michigan, seeing a lot of snow as well back into northern Wisconsin. And there have been some minor amounts of trace amounts down across the Appalachians and back over portions of north central Virginia as well. So this winter storm has been causing some major problems across the northeast U.S. and parts of the south earlier. First, in North Carolina, this is a look at the icy roads in Durham. Now, it rained there on Sunday night, but the temperatures plummeted, dropping down into the 20s Monday morning. And as you can see, several drivers lost traction, either crashing or coming very close to it. In New York, lake effect is dumping several inches of snow on Buffalo. Up to a foot of snow is expected to fall through Wednesday. Western Michigan dealing with the same cold air mass sweeping across the lakes, causing a crash involving more than 100 cars and several jackknifed semi-trucks sprawled all over the road for hours Monday after they were involved in a pileup on a Michigan interstate.
The local sheriff says it began just before 10:30 a.m. on Interstate 196 in Zeeland Township near Grand Rapids.
Holy.
This video from a driver who was involved in the pileup shows the aftermath, with cars smashed up against semi-trucks.
Goes back for miles.
He says there were whiteout conditions from a snowstorm ahead of the crash.
It can be almost like going into a white curtain.
We believe what happened is that a vehicle struck a semi-truck, a tractor trailer. That then set off a chain reaction. I can tell you that a couple dozen tractor trailers were involved in this incident, included in the 100 vehicles that were involved.
The accident prompted the closure of the interstate in both directions between two exits, while authorities worked to clear the wreckage. The Ottawa County Sheriff's Office says there were no fatalities and 10 people suffered minor injuries.
We got about 100 cars.
All right. While dangerous sub-zero wind chills are gripping the Midwest and Great Lakes, frigid cold temperatures 20 to 30 degrees below average are expected to affect many parts of the U.S. soon.
About 70% of the population of the U.S. with temperatures this week that will be below freezing, below 32 degrees.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Connecticut also got a blast of winter weather over the weekend, and families took advantage of it on MLK Day. For many, snow blanketing a golf course in Norwich created ideal conditions for sledding and snowball fights. Luca Dawes was there.
You ready?
For 11-year-old Kayani Maldonado,
Whoa!
there's strategy in sledding.
Both techniques are kind of like different in their own way. But I feel like going down like head first is like where it's at.
The sixth grader spent his snow day like any kid should.
I hope I don't fall.
And then huffing it up the hill. Of course, you want to stay safe and bundled up on a day like this.
It's cold, but when I have the jacket on, I'm hot. It like it mixed between cold and warm, but it's mostly cold. Jacket, hat, gloves, sweater.
Some sledders traded for snowmen, maybe a fort. But the tubes and sleds won the popular vote with four-legged help and a need for speed.
When it's like smooth, like in these areas, like it tends to go faster.
I love that so much. All right, so as a kid myself that spent time growing up in St. Louis, in Chicago, just north of Detroit, in Troy, Michigan, in New Jersey, some areas that got a lot of snow, I can tell you when you see little kids huffing and puffing to get back up to the top of the hill, you got a good hill for snow sledding, and those kids were having a blast. All right, we're going to turn our attention out to the West Coast and specifically around San Jose, because we want to take you back to an iconic landmark that is still undergoing repairs after being damaged during a storm on Christmas. I'm talking about the Lick Observatory just outside San Jose. Dustin Dorsey has a look at the progress crews are making so far.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe that a storm could do that sort of dramatic damage to this historic telescope dome.
The Lick Observatory staff is quite literally still picking up the pieces from a Christmas morning storm. The historic building is red tagged and closed to visitors.
Come in here to the 36-inch dome, and we'll go up a level so you can actually see things.
But astronomer Eleanor Gates gave us a first-hand look at repairs underway.
The beautiful round floor around the telescope was very, very wet after the storm. And while we did our best to mop things up, it soaked up a lot of water, and it is a very slow drying process, so that is still ongoing.
The floor and telescope were exposed after winds topping out at 114 miles per hour ripped the shutter clean off the roof.
This is the dome shutter. It's about 60-foot long arc, weighs about 5 tons, and you can see some of the damage where that end hit the ground.
And there was a heck of an impact when it came down, too.
Yeah, it did. It actually registered on the Lick Observatory seismograph when it hit the ground.
It was removed by a giant crane. Underneath, support beams completely snapped from the weight. The telescope was unharmed, but a temporary roof is being installed before other repairs can continue.
So the dome remains open to the elements right now, so I'm sure you guys are keeping a close eye on the weather.
Oh, we're definitely keeping a close eye on the weather. We've been super lucky that the weather has been good for the past over a week.
The observatory will celebrate its 150th anniversary this summer. There's hope that the temporary roof will be done by week's end, but the reopening of the building for the summer programs is doubtful as of now.
Let's hope they have some more nice weather over the coming week to allow for more repairs to the observatory. All right, I want to let you know we are going to take a quick break. And coming up, we're going to take a look at a couple of really interesting things. First, we're going to look back at this day in weather history. So again, a big snowstorm today, starting today, 163 years ago, it impacted U.S. history in a big way. And we've declared a weather impact alert for this weekend, talking about a possible major winter storm for Hampton roads, what you can expect coming up after the break. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. You know, weather doesn't just change our weekend plans. Sometimes it changes history. 163 years ago, a powerful winter storm helped bring a major Civil War an offensive to a grinding halt. Meteorologist Evan Stewart takes us back to January of 1863 when mud, rain, and timing stopped an entire army in its tracks.
In January of 1863, the Civil War had reached a critical point. Just weeks earlier, the Union Army suffered a devastating defeat at Fredericksburg. And under intense pressure to rebound, Union General Ambrose Burnside launched a bold winter offensive. On January 20th, tens of thousands of Union soldiers with the Army of the Potomac marched west across Virginia, hoping to surprise Confederate forces and outflank General Robert E. Lee. Now, at first, the weather seemed manageable. It was gray, but dry enough to move. However, by that evening, rain began to fall. It didn't stop. Overnight, the rain intensified, just soaking the landscape, and by the 22nd, Virginia's clay-rich soil transformed into a thick, sticky sea of mud. Wagons, they sank axle deep. Cannons couldn't be moved. Horses collapsed, and soldiers struggled just to stay on their feet. Entire units were immobilized, sometimes only advancing a few yards in hours. Now, Confederate troops were positioned on higher ground, watching from a distance as the Union Army became hopelessly stuck. Now, no shots were fired, no battle was fought. The weather had already won. After 3 miserable days, Burnside called off the offensive. The failed operation became known as the Mud March, one of the most infamous weather-related disasters in U.S. military history. Just days later, Burnside was relieved of command. It's a reminder that even the largest army can be defeated, not by an adversary, but by the weather above and the ground below.
Love those stories, Evan, and we look forward to more in the upcoming years. We celebrate 250 years with the United States. All right, we're going to take a look at what's going on across the country, and then we're going to really focus on the upcoming weekend and our chances for a big winter storm here in the mid-Atlantic. So let's start off nationally, and as you look across here, this is the satellite and the radar combined here. We've got the radar on top of the satellite images, and you don't see really much green, just a little bit showing up down here near the Texas coast. I was looking earlier at our region. I thought, do I have radar turned on? And I sure did. There's just not much going on, just a little bit of lake effect snow up around the Great Lakes and a little disturbance there, a frontal boundary producing some snow back across Montana. Aside from that, the western U.S. in great shape, Four Corners region, most of the south central U.S., the upper Midwest, back across the Tennessee River Valley, the Mississippi River Valley, back through the Ohio and along the East Coast down through Florida. All quiet this morning. As we focus in again, some of these areas, happy to have the relief. There's going to be more rain coming to this area as we go over the next several days. We're going to see moisture sweeping in, and eventually that rain is going to collide with colder air, and there's going to be snow as well. So we're going to talk about our chances for that. Let's talk about the cold air sweeping in to the eastern U.S. and what's going to be in place as moisture forms down from the Gulf and gets kind of picked up with the disturbance and eventually swept into our region. Right now, Minneapolis, 3 degrees below zero. It is 3 degrees in Cleveland, 4 in Chicago, 16 in New York City. The Big Apple, very chilly right now. Louisville right now at 13, down in New Orleans, 44. It's 51 in Phoenix, and San Francisco, 25 in Salt Lake City. Now, we do have cold air that is going to continue for this part of the country. And eventually, after a chilly day today in Hampton Roads, and I'll focus more on our local forecast here coming up, we're actually going to see temperatures warm a little bit ahead of that next frontal boundary tomorrow and into Thursday with a little bit of a southwest flow. You see the snow back across the Great Lakes. That snow back across Montana will spread to the east and continue working a quick moving little burst of energy there, bringing some more snow across Wisconsin, Michigan, and back towards the northeast U.S. That's for tomorrow at noon. Little more cold air and some more snow back across parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota. And now you start to see some of that rain forming out to the west. This is going to break across the mountains, continuing with some more rain down across the deep south. This is into Thursday around noon. Also a little bit of wet weather showing up down across South Florida, basically unsettled to the northeast, little unsettled in the southeast, and we start to get a little more moisture streaming back towards California. As we take you further along and into early Friday, you start to see some of these showers here. Eventually, this moisture is going to be picked up, and there's going to be some additional moisture squeezed into this area with colder air coming in, setting up the chances for the wintry weather. Now, how about our temperature changes here in Hampton Roads? I mentioned warmer tomorrow. Today, we're staying in the upper 30s. Tomorrow, 46, 54 for Thursday. All right, some areas in the Hampton Roads region in northeast North Carolina, even warmer than that, mid to upper 50s. But it's going to turn a lot colder Friday, and then the really cold air settles in for the weekend and continues next week. We've got a very cold stretch of winter air across the region, and you can see these temperatures cold enough to support some snow. There'll be some mixing right at the coast, but cold enough to generally support snow, which is going to contribute to some significant snow potential across the region. So that's the long-term temperature trend for Norfolk over the next 10 days. Our normal high is 50, so one day above average, and the rest of that time period, we will be back below. Want to talk to you about our winter storm headlines. First of all, there is increasing confidence that we will get hit with a winter storm here across the region. Heavy snow will be likely, but there may be some ice mix and rain for some other areas. So a lot of different elements all in play with this winter storm. The track and timing will likely fluctuate a little bit over the coming weeks, so it's very important you continue to check back for updates. Now, the timing on this, one thing I noticed this morning from yesterday morning is that the models are a little bit slower with the arrival of the moisture. So the colder air will settle in on Saturday. The moisture more likely will start to really fill in as we go into the afternoon and evening Saturday, and then continue overnight Saturday into Sunday, exiting late Sunday night or early Monday morning. The impact, as I mentioned, wintry mix, potential heavy snow, and then the bitter cold settles in. So again, I will urge you and urge you and urge you again, keep checking back for updates. I called a weather impact alert yesterday morning to give everybody a big, long lead time that, hey, next weekend, the models are saying this could be bad, and we continue to gain confidence that we are going to get hit with some wintry weather this weekend. You take a look at the global forecast system. This is the U.S. global model, and you can see as we go into Saturday morning, not much happening yet, not around midday. As we get into the afternoon, all right, the snow arrives. Some moderate snow here down across northeast North Carolina, heavier snow back across northern and western parts of North Carolina into Tennessee. Mix down to the south, maybe some rain snow mix or some sleet, or maybe even some freezing rain showers down around Hatteras and Ocracoke. Now, as we go through the afternoon and into the evening, notice the snow intensity picking up for Norfolk and for northeast North Carolina. That mix line down to the south, rain still, southern Outer Banks. Heading through the overnight and into early Sunday, now very heavy snow, eastern shore, northern neck, middle peninsula, much of Virginia blanketed in snow with this scenario. Rain starting to push up along the eastern part of North Carolina, and more of that sleet mix, maybe a little bit of freezing rain off to the southwest. Again, we'll have to see exactly how the layers of the atmosphere play out. Some of the models kind of indicating there might be a little kind of mid-level warmer layer that kind of develops, and that could produce a little bit of ice, although it does look like mainly a snow or rain-snow mix event. There is still that potential. Now, the snow continues into early Sunday, and then as we go through midday Sunday, that rain kind of pivots. So we get some rain over southern parts of Virginia Beach, some mix right along the coast, and then mostly mixed to snow for much of the area, and it winds down Sunday night into early Monday morning as snow with this GFS solution. And that is the latest. You can see it pulling away Monday with improvements coming. The Euro producing those showers Friday evening, mainly eastern North Carolina. We might see a few sprinkles across Hampton roads, but the Euro, again, has that delayed start with the snow. You see it kind of creeping in, actually staying dry for most of Saturday, setting up a snowy Sunday morning. You see that moderate to heavier snow here, heavy snow back across central portions of Virginia and the northern tier of North Carolina. Significant snowfall potentially, and then that rain kind of moving up. Now, the GFS is a little farther south with the progression of the low pressure. The Euro is a little farther north there. It's going to be windy, and you can see even through midnight, we've got some rain pushing back towards the coast. So the GFS, a little bit colder solution. The snow, a little more widespread here. Both the models are producing a lot of snow inland, but the GFS has a little more snow longer at the coast. The Euro brings in a little more warmth and some more rain before transitioning back out as it pulls away more mix and snow across northern parts of Virginia up into Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, a big snowmaker for the northeast U.S. as well. System pulls away later on Monday. That's the European solution. Let's talk about snow potential with the GFS. You can see what the model's doing, and I need to stress it as I did yesterday. This is model output, just used for guidance, not our forecast officially, but you see how the GFS really goes crazy with the snow amounts off to the north and northwest with significant snow even across Hampton roads, and that's before the rain kind of starts to mix in a little bit in these areas. That's why Kill Level Hills is so much lower than Virginia Beach and Elizabeth City. It's got more rain down there and more mixing through here, and then it's more snow as you go north and west. That's the GFS. Let's take a look at the Euro, and again, the latest from the Euro showing, again, that same general thinking that the heaviest stuff will be to the north and west. This one a little bit warmer, so the totals aren't quite as impressive, but the same idea, mainly mainly rain down around Kill Level Hills with some snow, and then the snow picking up as you go farther north and west. Both the models producing a lot of snowfall potentially. We will watch that and keep a close eye. Now, here's something to ponder, something to think about. And again, this is for Norfolk and the downtown Hampton Roads area. Weekend is expected basically with liquid precipitation, if it were to fall as all rain, between 1 inch and 1.5 inches of liquid precipitation. That's what the expectation is based on what's coming together. Now, if it were to fall as all snow and never transition over or not have much transition, that would equate with a 10-to-1 ratio to 10 to 15 inches, okay? 1 inch to 1.5 inches liquid with 10-to-1 ratio goes 10 to 15 inches. That's a possibility if it were all snow. Now, there's another method called the Kuchera method that we also look at sometimes to approximate the snowfall. It's a little different process of determining it, but the Kuchera was actually going a little bit higher with that ratio and was producing slightly higher amounts if all snow, all right? Based on the fact that there's going to be some mixed precipitation, that's going to be the great question to determine how much we get in terms of final amounts of snowfall. Could see mostly snow, then mix, or more rain. This will all come into play and impact, and it's just too early to really say. So that's why we keep showing these model outputs. We keep talking about general terms. Hey, significant snow, be ready, we could see this. And then we talk about what could come into play. A little more rain. Maybe a little more mix, maybe a warm layer somewhere, in the middle part of the atmosphere. These different things all will impact what we ultimately wind up with, but that's kind of the thinking. Now, taking a look at the models and their odds of significant snowfall. You take a look at the chance for 1 inch or more, the Euro, the GFS, and the Euro AI, all of these ensemble models producing virtually 100% chance that Norfolk's going to see, or the heart of Hampton Roads will see, at least 1 inch. 3 inches or more. Yep, 90% with the Euro, 70% with the GFS. The AI Euro says, yep, it's going to happen, 100% chance. 6 inches or more. Now it gets a little more interesting. Euro says there's a 60% chance we get more than 6 inches of heavy snow for Hampton Roads and the downtown area around Norfolk. GFS, about the same, again, 60%. And then 80% Euro AI is on it. They're saying, nope, this is going to be a big snowmaker. For 12 inches or more, the Euro says, okay, pump your brakes now. 10% chance, 20% chance is what the GFS is projecting when they run all of these different variations with the ensemble, and a 40% chance there for Euro AI. The other thing, of course, the potential for a little bit of ice, and I just wanted to throw this out there. Doesn't look like it's going to be as big a deal here with snow and rain, but there is some potential for some ice in the mix down to the southwest. Bottom line, folks, we need you to stay tuned and please check in. Follow us on our social media. Again, our station 13 News Now. We'll be watching all of this and the winter weather coming up for the weekend. We'll see you next time.